This video is the first example recapping the 3 topics I talked about in my previous video. This is rose number 5 of the 32, and as you can see, it follows melodic line to the T. As you get higher, you get louder, and as you get lower, you get softer. Let me explain what the markings mean. I'm starting in measure 9 where the black arrow is. All the blue arrows indicate peaks of phrases. Remember, peaks of phrases are places you are going to and then coming away from to finish the phrase. The gray brackets indicate new phrases. If you look at the first bracket on F, you can see how it's an interruption of the previous melodic idea. When you start on F sharp, you have an ascending line and then a descending arpeggio. The third measure is the same melodic idea, just elevated starting on B. The F is really an interruption of that phrase. It's actually the indication of a new phrase that goes all the way into the next arrow, the blue arrow on F sharp. Now the lines, the 2 red lines and the 1 brown line, indicate tension and release notes. Remember, these are dissonant notes that resolve to consonant notes. Let me explain. For the first red line, the composer could have written this. But the composer chose to write this. As you can tell, the D serves as a dissonant note that resolves to the consonant note. There's pressure on the D that resolves to the C. For the second red line, the composer could have just stuck with the chord like this. However, the composer chose to write this. If you can tell, there's stress on the C because it's a dissonant note that resolves to a consonant note. The reason why there are different colors is because a phrase cannot have too many emphases. You should really only have a peak of a phrase and possibly a secondary peak, but you can't have 2 primary peaks. So for example, if you stretch the G sharp, you really shouldn't stretch the D in the next measure. I'm going to play this passage 2 different ways. The first way stressing the G sharp and the second way stressing the D. The peak will always remain on the blue arrow on F sharp. And now stressing the D. The last gray bracket is an extension of the phrase. The composer could have chosen to stop the phrase or cadence on the G, as it's the tonic note for this key signature. However, the composer chose to extend the phrase by another measure, which is why there's another blue arrow on the C, indicating another peak. To conclude this video, I want to reiterate that you must finish your phrases. The last note of the phrase must be held at least the printed value. For example, I could have played the last phrase like this. But instead, I played it like this. Remember, it's always okay to overhold, but you can never underhold.